are indicative of her care for the young. Her epithet Patroa indicates her connection to ancestral family cult, and her epithet Alexiatis, which means averter, refers to her role as a protector. The meaning of one epithet, stroika, is uncertain because it is unprecedented in the Greek language. The best explanation for this is that it is actually a misspelling of the word storika, which still exists in modern Greek and it means affectionate. In addition to these epithets, we have two inscriptions from Larissa in which mothers ask Enodia for help on behalf of their children. For example, this one on top, a woman named Agia is asking for help on behalf of her child. And then this woman named Agathis at the bottom is asking for help as well on behalf of her child. So we can certainly say that she was a chorotrophic deity. The second largest group of epithets of Enodia that I can discern concern Enodia's protection of the city and its institutions. The earliest inscription that we have to Enodia calls her Enodia Estika, which is Enodia of the city. And we also have an inscription calling her Polias, an epithet which is most famously carried by Athena as a goddess of the city of Athens. Enodia is also called Stathmia, which Chrysostomou believes to be an unprecedented epithet, and which he believes to mean that Enodia was a protector of gates and doorways like Hecate, because Stathmia seems to come from Stathmos, which in ancient Greek meant a door or a threshold. However, I do not believe that this is so, because this epithet is not unprecedented. It is attested as an epithet of Athena, who was worshipped as Athena Stathmia in Alexandria. Stathmia does not come from Stathmos, but from Stathmi, which basically means a measuring line. Athena Stathmia is a goddess of equity and commerce and also justice, and she is depicted on a few Alexandrian coins with her usual helmet and her shield. But the difference is that she is carrying a cornucopia on her left hand and a set of scales on her right hand. Financial records were set up in the sanctuary of Enodia in Pherai, so it would not be amiss to say that Enodia Stathmia was also a goddess connected with fairness and commerce. One or two epithets of Enodia had to do with ritual purification. The first is Osea, which means holy or pure, and is connected by Chrysostomou with purification rites. The other epithet, Mikaika, is more difficult because it is not known elsewhere. Chrysostomou explains it as being related to the verb mikaome, which means to bellow or to groan. It's cognate with the Latin verb mugo mugare. It is used for the sound of earthquakes and also for the bellowing of cattle. For Enodia, it might have had to do with the bellowing of cattle in her capacity as a goddess of purification rites, which involved blood sacrifices. And in addition, torches and dogs were common in the iconography of goddesses of childbirth and purification. Dogs were in fact not an uncommon sacrifice for purification rituals, and the fact that it appears in Enodia's iconography could in fact indicate a role in purification rites. Dogs were popular purification sacrifices because they were cheap. You could find them anywhere, and purification rites were needed for a lot of different things: childbirth, menstruation, murdering someone. And the remaining two epithets are toponyms. Iliados refers to a place named Ilion in northern Thessaly, and Pherea is the more important epithet, and it means of Pherai. It appears only once in Thessaly, from the city of Phalana, but it is the most common epithet for Enodia outside of Thessaly, which I'll discuss more later. This might indicate that the Thessalians did not consider Pherai as the origin of Enodia, but Pherai played such a significant role in the spread of the cult that non-Thessalians connected her with the city. So now we can say that Enodia was a goddess associated with family, and also with civic life, and also with ritual purification, which can fall under both categories. There is also one further possible role of Enodia, which I will only mention this once. We find it in the Hippocratic Corpus in De Morbo Sacra. It says that during an epileptic seizure, a goddess named Enodia is responsible for involuntary diarrhea. And that is all I'm going to say about that. And now I'm going to discuss the spread of the cult. During the mid-5th century, inscriptions to Enodia were restricted to the Tetrad of sanctuary in Melitaia in Achaia Theotis. The sanctuary had a small temple dating to the 3rd century BC, but it was built over a 5th century temple. There were inscriptions to Enodia, as well as statuary that might have depicted the goddess. And there was also a late 5th century BC inscription from Pella, further up above the map, which might indicate that the cult of Enodia had reached Macedonia by the 5th century, late 5th century at least. However, from the 4th century BC onwards, she became directly attested in all 4 tetrads of Thessaly and in all Eastern Perioic regions. This is a rare achievement for any deity in Thessaly, even for Pan-Hellenic deities. Only Zeus and Poseidon are this widely attested, and not even Athena is attested in all 4 tetrads. So it is clear that Enodia now had Pan-Thessalian importance. And these are the kinds of finds that we get from Thessaly that attested the cult of Enodia. Many of them were votive stelae, like this one from Theotic Thebes. These stelae form the bulk of our evidence for the goddess. A lot of them are very repetitive. This person dedicates this to Enodia, or simply Enodia, or simply dedicated to Enodia. We also have sculptural reliefs that depict the goddess, and in this fragmentary one, we see Enodia over here, and she is on a horse carrying a very long torch. And on top of the relief, it says Onethika, which means dedicated. Starting from the 4th century BC as well, Enodia's cult also spread to numerous other places in the Greek world, most especially in Macedonia, and got even as far as ancient Perseus, which is in modern-day Prilep and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. It got as far down as the northern Peloponnese and even Attica, and also from Thera. It also spread to Syracuse in Sicily, to Issa in Dalmatia, and also to Coptos in Egypt. Chrysostomou attributes the spread of the cult to its active promotion by the tyrants of Pherae. During the Phaeacian ascendancy during the early 4th century BC, the cult of Enodia becomes omnipresent in the city of Pherae on a large scale. The most important evidence that we have for this is the coinage of Pherae. Starting from the reign of Jason of Pherae, the coins of the city begin to depict the image of Enodia, and we see her slowly becoming more fancy with the hair, and sometimes she is depicted on horseback, but she's always depicted with a torch. Here. This is a torch. And over here. This continues until the Romans get rid of the individual Thessalian currencies and replace them with a single Thessalian League currency. But even then, Enodia still appears in some Thessalian League coins, such as these two. In addition to the coins, we have archaeological evidence for the Phaeacian promotion of the cult of Enodia. In the 4th century BC, we get a second smaller sanctuary to Enodia containing a small temple to the south of the city, perhaps also dedicated to Zeus Melichios. Zeus Melichios was a chthonic deity, and this was more evidence of Enodia's chthonic aspects, but this does not make her a goddess of witchcraft automatically, nor does it indicate that she was a frightening chthonic deity. In addition to this sanctuary, an altar was excavated on the Acropolis of Pherae, which is over here, dating to the 4th century BC, which seems to have belonged to a sanctuary of the 12 gods on the Acropolis. The list of the 12 Olympian gods usually varies from place to place and from time to time, and on this altar, we see a Phaeacian version. Inscribed on this altar from Pherae were the names of 6 Olympian goddesses, the 6 Olympian goddesses of Pherae. There might have been an accompanying altar of the 6 gods, but it didn't survive. There were 3 rows of inscriptions, all repeating the same 6 names. The top 2 lines are written in Boustrophodon, which is going from left to right and then from right to left. The top 2 lines were erased, although they are still very readable.